It started with a video game gift card and ended with my deadbolt broken. The quiet hum of my PC was the only sound I trusted. For the first time in almost 6 years, my own mind felt like a safe place to live. I'd spent my late teens and early 20s in a city hospital, untangling the knots of a schizophrenic break, learning to tell the difference between a real threat and a shadow my own brain cooked up. Now, back in my hometown, that PC was my lifeline. It was my window back to a world I could manage. That's where he found me again. In-game, a message popped up from a name I hadn't heard in years. Cinder. He was one of the kids from the old neighborhood, younger than me, part of a group I'd smoke with before I got sick and disappeared. Turns out he was friends with one of my new online buddies. Small world. He asked for my Facebook. I didn't think anything of it. That was the first mistake. It started with gift cards. Every week, like clockwork, he'd buy a 25 card for the game. And every week, he apparently couldn't figure out how to use it. At first, I helped. It was easy. But then the messages started. Ping. 1 a.m. Hey man, it's not working. Ping. 1:20 a.m. Can you hop on and show me? Ping. 1:30 a.m. You up? My phone lived on the nightstand next to my bed, and its low, angry buzz became the soundtrack to my insomnia. It was a constant, needy vibration that I could feel in my teeth, a digital leash he'd tug on at all hours. I told him to stop. I told him I needed to sleep. It didn't matter. For months, this was my life. A sleepless haze orchestrated by someone I barely knew. I was getting sick, that old familiar static creeping back into the edges of my thoughts. So I did the only thing I could. I blocked him. On the game, on Facebook, everywhere. The silence that followed was the deepest, most satisfying breath of air I'd ever taken. Years passed. I forgot about him. I even reactivated an old Facebook profile I'd abandoned ages ago. One night, bored, I was scrolling through old messages and I saw it. His name. He'd found this ghost account and he'd been messaging it the entire time. A new message every month or two for 3 straight years. Hey, what's up? Where you been? They were just sitting there, unanswered. A patient, relentless drip of text into an empty void. The realization chilled me to the bone. I hadn't escaped him. I'd just stopped hearing the tapping on the glass. Another year of blessed silence went by. I moved into a small ground floor apartment. My desk, my sanctuary, was set up right against the window. It was perfect. I could feel the sun on my back while I played. Then, she moved in next door. I remember seeing the moving truck on a Saturday. That same night, I was deep into a game, headphones on, when I felt a tremor through the floorboards. I pulled my headset off, shouting. Real, panic shouting from outside. I looked out to see my new neighbor on her lawn, pointing down the street. A couple of guys were running, chasing a figure that was already disappearing into the dark. She'd had a peeping Tom. On her very first night, cops came, took a report, but the guy was long gone. We all just chalked it up to some random creep, a terrifying welcome to the neighborhood. About a week later, I came home from work and put my key in the deadbolt. It wouldn't turn. It just scraped, metal on metal. I jiggled it, pushed on the door, nothing. Finally, I had to throw my shoulder into it just to get inside. When I looked at the lock, my stomach turned to ice. The heavy brass housing was warped, bent inward. The wood of the doorframe around it was splintered, with deep gouges scarring the paint. It wasn't broken like an old lock fails. It was broken like someone had tried to force their way through. And then, a thought so cold and sharp, it felt like a physical blow my desk. My window. The perfect view someone would have of my screen, of me, every single night for weeks, maybe months. The peeping Tom hadn't shown up because a new woman moved in. He'd just switched windows. I didn't have proof. But I knew. The fear I'd spent years learning to control, to rationalize away, was suddenly very, very real. I bought thick blackout curtains that day. 2 more years went by. I was in a different apartment, in a different part of town. I felt safe again. I was raiding with my guild one night when a new player joined the lobby. His username was a warped version of mine, just 2 letters swapped. Odd, but I figured it was a coincidence. Then his character loaded in. It was Amir. My Amir. The exact same rare armor set I'd spent months grinding for. The same obscure die combination I'd been so proud of. The same weapon skin from a limited time event that hadn't been available for years. My friend's voice crackled over the comms, casual and unconcerned. "Hey, is that your alt account?" My hands started shaking. I couldn't breathe. It was him, Cinder. He wasn't just watching me anymore. He was wearing my skin. I quit the game, quit the guild, and haven't logged back on since. Sometimes I still feel his eyes on me, even with the curtains drawn. A patient digital ghost who decided he wanted to step out of the screen, and I have no idea how far he's willing to walk.